series. Today is video 95, and I'm talking about expectations. And this came up with a session that I had yesterday. So I thought it would be really appropriate to talk about here because so many people have expectations of other people, expectations of themselves, thoughts about how interactions may or may not go. And a lot of times people have expectations and they don't have expectations. Really, expectations are an experience of the ego mind, and they are attached to your thoughts, which oftentimes are inaccurate. So it's best to not have expectations because then you can attain a place of neutrality. When you're neutral, you're open to more possibilities, more potentials can emerge for you. When you are having expectations, what that is setting up is constriction. So let's just say we have an expectation that people honor their word. I mean, that would be nice, but the truth is, many people do not even understand what it means to honor their word. So, do I have an expectation that people honor their word? No. Do I watch their behavior? Yes. Now, when somebody says, trust me, does that set up the expectation that you should trust them? Or is that a red flag for you? For me, if somebody's telling me to trust them, that's a red flag because nobody should be telling you to trust them if they're trustworthy. So why would they be saying to trust me unless some of the things that they're saying is not trustworthy? I don't know. That's just some of the things that go on in my mind when I hear people. What I say to my clients is, don't trust me. Don't worry about trusting your boss. Don't worry about trusting these other people. Trust yourself in relationship to these other people because your body will always tell you when something is amiss, that something is not right here. And that your body language might show up as nervousness, anxiety, forgetfulness. Maybe you're tired all of a sudden. Um, there's so many different ways that it could show up, but those are all indications that something's happening within your field that you're not aware of, but your body is sensing. The nervous system picks up on everything. So, what I would suggest is, trust yourself in relationship to other people. And if you have data within yourself that, you know, you don't feel good around these people, well, that's telling you something is not congruent in the energy. And you don't have to make it like these people are bad because, you know, most people who are doing not nice things, they're not even aware that they're doing them or they're not very conscious. They're just behaving because that's the way they've always done it. And that gets worse as people get older. So, my suggestion is to always trust yourself in relationship to other people and don't have expectations. Check yourself about your expectations and really look at what is that happening within you that you think you know what's going to happen. I mean, unless you're a palm reader, a psychic, a highly intuitive, and you're always right, even if you're always right, you're going to be an ego because the ego would be like, I'm always right. I'm never wrong. Or, you know, you don't want to do that. So just really steer clear of trying to have expectations at all because that's going to be either your like an imbalanced ego. I'll just say that it's an imbalanced ego when you are going into expectations. So, in order to stay more balanced, you want to notice when you're having expectations so you can disengage from the ego that is having that. Okay. So, and I'm saying the ego is having that because when you're congruent, you don't have expectations. You're present in the moment. You're alive, willing, open, let's see what's going to happen, excited, not attached to outcomes, and then you're going to have a beautiful experience. When you have expectations and those expectations are not met, you're going to have this really deflated experience of the ego that feels like a wounding. And, you know, that's unnecessary, because if you weren't in the ego in the first place, you wouldn't be disappointed. And why should you be disappointed that something didn't go the way you thought it would go? Why? Why have any attachment to any outcome of any situation? What good comes of that? You know, nothing productive comes of having expectations of a situation. Now, you can have ideas of, I would like to achieve this and articulate your ideas, but don't put them on the other person as an expectation. And now, when I was doing leadership training, I used to do these things called expectations sheets, right? So we knew what the role was, what the role entailed, and then what were the expectations of that role. And it wasn't really about having this documentation of this, although for many organizations it becomes all about documentation so we could hold people accountable. That's not the reason why you do these documents and why you have them. The reason why you have these documents that have expectations is so you can negotiate and have clear communication. But people get so wrapped up in doing and is it right and does it look good that they forget that the communication and the beauty of expectations is the communication that comes from clarity. So if you have expectations, be willing to communicate them so you can be clear. So one of the things that my husband and I do on a yearly basis, sometimes more if needed, is we get clear about our expectations. What are your expectations of me as a wife and as a husband and so forth and so on. So we know where we're supposed to be. So one of the things that is so funny is that it becomes kind of fun. Like we've made it kind of playful. Like my husband knows I don't like dishes in the sink. That's my thing. And also, I'm not good at vacuuming. That's not my forte, but he's really good at vacuuming. And so, it's expected that he vacuums the certain carpets that I can't vacuum. If it's a shag carpet, I can't vacuum. But if it's a flat carpet, I can vacuum. This is probably too much information, but you see where I'm saying like those are silly expectations and yet they're very clear. And we're clear about whose jobs are there. Like I pretty much unload the dishwasher 90% of the time. He vacuums 90% of the time. Like we share and split responsibilities, but we're clear on it. So the taking out the trash and these little things that are helpful to talk about in relationships, just like they're helpful to talk about at work. You have those communal areas at work, the kitchens, and if people are not respectful, they'll just treat it like they treat their own stuff. And sometimes people don't treat their own stuff very nicely. And then it's a problem. So communication of expectations is where we all learn to grow. If we're not communicating our expectations, we're holding on to them. And then when they're not met, we get disappointed. Then there's the deflation. And then there's like, well, you didn't meet my expectation. And my question, which why'd you have expectations? Why? What belief is that attached to where you think you should have expectations? And let's go down that rabbit hole so we can unhook from those things that are disappointing, that cause you to be unhappy and dissatisfied with life and situations and relationships. So that's my 2 cents on, that's more than 2 cents on expectations. I hope you find this helpful. I am Kiana Sage and I guide people to peace. I hope you have a great Friday. Bye.